I asked for some questions on the PFT Twitter page, specifically related to this issue. I'm going to scroll through here and see if there's anything else that stands out. How should Tua feel today? That's a question from Neil Watch's PFT. There is now a report that Ross has been actively trying to get Brady for 3 years prior to and during Tua's tenure as the Dolphins starting quarterback. Yeah, and you throw in the effort to get Deshaun Watson last year. Tua has been unwanted by Stephen Ross. Tua was the guy that we initially heard the tank for Tua mantra for before he broke his hip in the 2019 college football season. That's when Stephen Ross pivoted to Joe Burrow, and Tua ended up being the guy that was left at number 5, and they should have just taken Justin Herbert at number 5 instead of number 6. Neil Watch's PFT also says that the tampering policy indicates that there should be compensation for the offended teams. Should the Patriots, Saints, and Buccaneers get any recompense? That's a good question. I mean, it looks like it's over. It looks like nothing's going to happen there. But you do have 3 victims of the tampering: the Saints, the Patriots, and the Buccaneers. And maybe one of the reasons that Sean Payton quit his job with the Saints is he thought he was going to land with the Dolphins. Maybe if he knew he wasn't going to get that Dolphins job, he would have stayed in New Orleans for another year. We don't know the answer to that question, but it's entirely possible the Saints lost their head coach this year because he thought he was going to resign and then resurface as coach of the Dolphins. Tom Marshall, should Tom Brady be criticized for allowing himself to be tampered with? It doesn't look good on him that talks got so far. And I said that earlier. I think that he should be criticized, and hopefully he will be criticized, and hopefully he'll be asked some tough questions by Buccaneers reporters that do a lot of fawning of Tommy. Not all of them. But there's a certain amount of tiptoeing around Tommy that happens. He needs to be asked some tough questions because, as the league has found it, he was talking to the Dolphins about playing for them during the 2021 season when he was playing for the Buccaneers. If I'm a Buccaneers fan, I'm pissed off, and I want to hear exactly what was going on, even though, as we know, and Tom Brady has said of it himself, 90% of the time, what he says isn't how he actually feels. Terry Gensler, how much fun do you have reading the comments on your post about this story from February? Maybe I should go back and look at those and retweet some of those, but that would be petty. I'm not petty. I'm not. Nathan Jacobson, if Tua isn't the guy this year, their hunt for a franchise quarterback in the draft next year got a lot harder. Do you think this will put off Tom Brady and Sean Payton from ever joining the franchise? Well, I still think I thought Brady was in play for next year, but now it may be that if he decides to keep playing in 2023, he just doesn't even consider the Dolphins. But now that we already know that he talked to them, I don't know how much more damage can be done. It's not like if he joins the Dolphins, people are going to say, aha, we knew you talked to the Dolphins. We already know. So I think he can still play for the Dolphins. 6 months from now is basically 6 years from now. A lot's going to happen between now and the end of the football season. I don't think it closes the door. Rob Taglia points out it's weird to write off Ross's comments as not serious and in the same breath commend Flores for not letting them affect his effort to win. That's the problem here, and that gets back to what I was saying. Flores was the hero. He saved Ross, and he blew the whistle on what Ross was doing. It just feels like there should be something more for Ross, because if you truly want to deter this kind of behavior, when you catch someone in the act and you have a coach who is willing to do the right thing by refusing to go along with it and then by standing up and being counted, that's something that needs to have full and complete punishment of the owner, because there are probably plenty of other cases where the coach, as I said earlier, just goes along. All right, let's see what else we have here. We've probably covered most of everything that we can. Here we go. Football God. Was this strategically announced now to be glossed over by the Watson news? I don't think it's to be glossed over by Watson. I think it's to be subsumed within Watson so that we see the NFL punishing an owner at the same time the NFL is deciding whether to reject a 6-game suspension of Deshaun Watson and seek more from the NFL itself. I think this is a great way for us to be able to say, see, they punish owners too. That's what I think this is. And it doesn't change my feeling that the NFL is going to appeal Judge Robinson's decision to the NFL and that the NFL is going to impose a higher suspension. Let's see what else we have here. And we appreciate any of the tweets where folks are acknowledging that we were right all along. That it does look. I mean, if you're human, when you have a moment like that, it does feel kind of good to be right. When you were doubted by people who had no idea what was really going on, and they just doubted it because they're Buccaneers fans and they don't want to hear that their quarterback didn't want to play for their team anymore. That it truly was some decision he made to simply come back and play for the Buccaneers. Not that his other door was closed. He just chose to come back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right. This is William Buckskin. Do they expect us to actually believe their conclusion about tanking considering the rest of the report? It seems like a blatant cover for the owners, and it definitely does. And I think that's the thing that needs to resonate from this. He tried to tank. He engaged in attempted tanking. And but for Brian Flores, he would have engaged in actual tanking. And but for Brian Flores, we wouldn't know about attempted or actual tanking. All right. Let me do one more, and then let's wrap it up. Well, two more. Picks 204. From Playmakers, we know head coaching hires are a done deal before the old coach is fired. With them explicitly punishing that behavior in this case, do you think the process will improve and fix some issues that the Rooney Rule had failed to, or will owners just get more shady and secretive with head coaching hiring? And look, this in a roundabout way, it makes Brian Flores' lawsuit stronger as it relates to the race discrimination issue, because the tampering doesn't just violate the tampering rule, it violates the Rooney Rule. They went out and lined up a white head coach at a time when they possibly hadn't even engaged in a proper or any search. It undermines everything the league is trying to do to ensure diversity when it comes to head coaching searches and inclusiveness when it comes to looking for a coach, not picking a guy and secretly getting the deal done and then putting everything into motion. So I think what's going to happen is there's a league meeting next week for the purposes of approving the purchase of the Broncos by Rob Walton and Greg Penner. They may want to think twice after this, but someone told me that there's an expectation that the league office and specifically the commissioner is going to read the riot act to the owners next week. And the question then is, how long does this last? Is it really going to change the way things are done? I think it will for a short period of time. But there's too much tampering to make it all go away. They can't police it in every instance. There will be occasions where it falls through the cracks. And sometimes like this, it becomes kind of a compromise punishment. When you can't punish him for tanking, you got him for something else. One more. Beats and Hops. Why is there no punishment for tampering for Brady and Peyton? They were active participants in this. The tampering rules don't apply to them. They're allowed to be tampered with. It's a bad look. And as I said earlier, it may make Sean Payton radioactive for 2023, but there's no violation in being the one who is tampered with. They should possibly consider expanding the tampering policy to make it a violation, not just to be the tamperer, but to be the tamperee, to be the one who willingly goes along with it and doesn't report it and engages in the communications in an effort to try to facilitate the tampering. It would require negotiation with the NFL Players Association to make players responsible for tampering, but there is no union for the coaches. You can just make it part of the policy unilaterally without notice. Here we go. And it does make me wonder. And there was already a concern whether or not someone at the league office wouldn't want Sean Payton back in after the bounty scandal. This may make it harder for him to ever get back in. We'll see.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.